Hello, welcome back to another video lecture on basic algebra. Today we're going to be talking about writing linear equations, primarily of the form y equals mx plus b. Now, a few things to remember is that slope equals the change in y over the change in x. We also denote this as m. Also remember that the y-intercept happens when x equals 0. And this is at the point 0, comma, b. And we use that b for our equation. So let's look at an example. Use the table to write the equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So here we've got a table. We've got 3 points, 2, -12, 4, -9, 6, -6. So what we need to do is find out if there's a linear relation, and if there is, then we can use it to write a linear equation. So when we go from 2 to 4, this is a difference of 2. From 4 to 6, it's another difference of 2. From -12 to -9, that's a difference of 3. And from -9 to -6, that's another difference of 3. So we know from this that our slope is our change in y over our change in x. So we can take note that m is going to be 3 over 2. So now we need to determine what our y-intercept is. Well, remember that the y-intercept happens when x equals 0. So if we were to put 0 here, we need to find out what would go here. So from 2 to 0 is actually a difference of 2. So that still works. So that means that here, the difference would be 3. So if we took 3 away from here, we'd actually get to -15. And so from -15 to -12 is a jump of 3, just like this was a jump of 2 here. So we would be able to say that our y-intercept happens at 0, -15. So b equals -15. Then we're going to write our equation. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 15. So, as you can see, what we did was we found a pattern, used that pattern to find out other information that we didn't have. The pattern that we got here gave us our slope, and we were able to use that pattern to get our y-intercept. So let's do another example. Here we're going to write the equation for each line. So the first one, we have a line that passes through 0, 8, and has a slope of 4. So we could say, well, this means that b equals 8. So this is simply y equals 4x plus 8. So our next one gives a line passes through 4, 0, and has a slope of m equals -2. Now, this point here is the x-intercept, not the y-intercept, which means that we can't use this as b. So we need to determine what the y-intercept is. Well, we have that m is -2. This tells us that our rise is -2, and our run is 1. So for every unit that we go right, we went down 2. So we can actually go backwards on this, and every unit we go left, we go up 2. So we can go, instead of going down 2 over 1, we can go up 2 left 1. So if we look at this, we're at x equals 4, so we need to get this to 0, means we need to go 4 units to the left. So if we kept this pattern of 2 up, 1 left, we'd go left 4 and up 8. So this is the same thing as up 8, left 4. So that tells us that our y-intercept should happen at 0, 8. 0, 8. Because this went up 8, and this went back 4. So that becomes 4 minus 4, 0. 0 plus 8 is 8. So 0, 8. So now we can write our equation as y equals -2x plus 8. So let's do one more example. Here we have the line passes through 2 points. So we don't know our slope and we don't know our intercept. So what we need to do is determine those 2 things. And the first thing we're going to do is determine our slope. We have 2 points. So let's call this one x1, y1, and this one's x2, y2. And we're going to start with our slope equation. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 4, y1 is 6, so that's 4 minus 6. x2 is -4, x1 is -8. This gives us 4 minus 6 is -2. -4 minus -8 is the same thing as -4 plus 8. So -4 plus 8 equals 4. So at our bottom, we have 4. This simplifies to -1/2. So now we have a slope. We need to find our intercept. So what this slope tells us is that for every 2 units we move in the x direction, we move 1 unit down in the y. So this tells us 1 down, 2 over. Well, we can use this point here. We need to go 4 units over to get to 0. And this one's the easiest one to use. So that means we would double this number here. So we would go over 4 units if we doubled this. And then we would end up going down 2 units. So that tells us that our y-intercept happens at 0, 2. So once again, we multiplied both of these by 2 to get to our intercept here. Since we moved 2 over, each time we just did it twice to get this to -4 to 0. So now we have a slope, we have an intercept, and we could say y equals -1/2 x plus 2. And that's it. So something to note, horizontal lines have a slope of 0. And these are always going to be in the form of y equals and then some constant. And that constant can be anything. But one thing to note, that constant will always end up being the y-intercept. Here, vertical lines have an undefined slope, and they're always going to be of the form x equals and then some constant. Now, why is this? Why does a horizontal line have a 0 slope? Well, if we consider just back in our slope equation, m equals the change in y over the change in x. Well, if you had any 2 points on a horizontal line, they would have the same y value. So this change in y is going to be 0, and it doesn't matter what your change in x is. So this always gives you a 0 slope. Similarly, for vertical lines, we would say that the x values are constant. They're the same. So when you subtract a number from itself, you always get 0. The change in x is 0. So no matter how you change your y, your delta x will always be 0, which is undefined, and then you end up with y, some number divided by 0, which is undefined. If we were to look at these on a graph, you would simply have y equals something, and this is simply just y equals, say, 3. And if that's y equals 3, then it doesn't matter where your x, where it crosses. Here's your axis, your axes. And you will simply just have something like this, y equals 3. That's it. If we had a vertical line, the graph of, suppose we had x equals -2, suppose we graphed x equals -2, we would say, all right, well, x equals -2, and it's going to equal -2 no matter what y value you have. And it'll look something like that, and that's it. So, that's it for writing linear equations, and a few little notes on when your slope is either 0 or undefined. I hope that this has helped you understand linear equations a bit more. Hope you enjoyed the lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.